God vibes only. God vibes only. You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace, you're now tuned to the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Herut, and I got my good brother here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Brother, keeping my eyes to the sky is to the street. What about you, King?
Hey, man, I'm on I'm on that same page, man. Definitely keeping my eyes to the sky and seeing what's going on out here, man, because it's interesting times that we in, man, for sure.
Yeah, I have to say so.
Indeed. But before we get too far, I want to remind you all, make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you share this on all your social medias and everything. Let your people know what we got going on here so we can take this to the next level. And again, this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Caliprucia Astrology and our good people over there on Patreon. Big up to y'all. Big up to the patrons out there or whatnot. You know, we've been dropping them Patreon exclusive episodes. So if you're interested in that, you want to check that out, definitely hit us up on the Patreon. You can find the Patreon and everything else we got going on with the podcast from our Instagram at COSMICCONVO on Instagram. And you can find Push It Forward Media Group on Instagram at Push It Forward PUSHITFWD on Instagram, and there you can find this podcast, and you can find all the other podcasts a part of the Push It Forward network. And whatnot. So that's this podcast. That's the Plant Based with Love podcast. With a wonderful couple out there dropping knowledge about plant-based dating and eating and all that good stuff. And then we got the Single Dad podcast with my brother Bam DeLeon or whatnot. Definitely out there dropping knowledge about the game of being a single father and just fatherhood from the man's just raising child rearing from a man's perspective in general or whatnot. So definitely get into that. Brother Ra, how can the people get in contact with you?
Same, calipruciastrology@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on IG or Facebook via Shekam Ra. You will also soon, as I stated previously, have access to me via calipruciastrology.com. It's coming soon, so stay tuned.
Indeed, man. Definitely get into that. And what about your YouTube channel, man? How can people connect on your YouTube channel? You got some videos and everything on there, and I know you're gonna beef that up pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I got a few. Yeah, I got a few videos on there. I got you can hit me up at Caliprucia Astrology right on YouTube. Put in those 3 words, and it should put up pretty easily. You can even go to YouTube. Google, and find me there as well. So Caliprucia Astrology, you pull me up either way. Um, Definitely got some new classes coming out too, right? So you might want to take advantage of those. It's a whole new semester coming up, a whole new level, a whole new beginners level, entry level coming up soon. So definitely take advantage of that. That'll be beginning in August, first couple of weeks in August. I'll drop a date here the next couple of podcasts. So definitely hit me up if you're interested in learning how to become an astrologer and how to delve into these sciences on a more fundamental and a serious level.
Indeed. Definitely hit up them classes, or whatnot, man. Because you hear that knowledge and everything that Robbie dropping on here, man. So get an opportunity, man, to try to get a little piece of that little chip off the old block or whatnot, and be able to take it to the next level, indeed, or whatnot. So shoot, man, here we are. We're at season 4, episode 8. Big up to us. That puts us at 83 episodes or whatnot. We chipping away or whatnot. Getting closer to that 100 episode mark. We seeing things grow and everything like that. Shout out to all our international listeners, or whatnot, man. We got a lot. I know I'm giving a lot of applause and stuff like that, but I really do appreciate all the listeners and everybody out there checking in with us and stuff like that. It's interesting. The podcasting thing is very interesting, man. But I really enjoy it or whatnot. Before we jump into today's topic, you got anything you want to impart on the people? Anything you want to say to the people outside of that? I don't have any questions from my end or whatnot.
Not really. Just stay tuned for the next podcast coming up. There are gonna be some interesting shows coming, so
Oh yeah.
definitely, don't sleep. Right, you'd be surprised what you might see coming on that live. Right, here one of these Wednesdays coming up. So definitely get the message out to people. I just want to say, spread it, send it, share it. Get it to people that you find might benefit from this type of information and knowledge. It helps us, and definitely will reciprocate the favor by bringing good content and interesting shows.
Absolutely. So, kind of in that vein, we we had something else planned for today originally or whatnot. We definitely did. We had another show planned for the day, but we got some interesting news that came across, the headlines and everything like that, about the brother Bill Cosby. As you can see from the cover art, those of y'all who coming in, those of y'all who see what's going on and everything like that. And I mentioned to Ra, earlier that we was talking about this some years ago, before we even actually when this podcast, kind of the beginnings of what ultimately became this podcast. This was one of the charts that we were looking at and stuff like that. We was going through an exercise, just looking at different ascendants and stuff like that. And this is one of the charts that we were talking about or whatnot. And it was quite interesting to see the new developments or whatnot. So it was a chart that we were both already familiar with and everything like that. So I thought it was an excellent opportunity for us to go ahead and talk about Bill Cosby. A lot of people are putting in their input, but again, everything is written in the stars. The Creator lays out the destiny for us all. So figure we'll go ahead and take a peek into what's going on with Bill Cosby, and see why this is developing at this particular time, and give some insight into just Bill Cosby in general or whatnot. So this will be, the Bill Cosby episode, the Cosbys on the Cosmic Convos. So it kind of almost rhymes or whatnot. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that. Indeed.
Let's do that. So, Bill has a very interesting chart. And, you know, brother was saying, you can have public opinion, right? You can have popular, commentary, gossip, and what have you, but the destiny reveals, a great deal of information about what is transpiring in a person's karmic, you know, recompense, as far as what they are experiencing and why. That's not just what, but also why. And, we always, look at what, but, the ultimate question is, why are we going through this? Why is he experiencing this? What is the lesson involved? What is the insight to be gained. And Bill is a very, for all intents and purposes, a very, I don't say spiritually oriented, but a very, um, I want to not even say open minded, but when I say spiritually oriented, there's different ways to be spiritual, right?
Yeah.
Bill is the type of individual that is a giver, right? And it fits well with the chart because his ascendant is a Pisces ascendant. And Pisces ascendants are known for their generosity. They're known for their giving nature. And one of the ways that we can see this, he's right at 20. What, he got 27? I had 26 degrees, right? Um, and at 26 degrees, that Pisces ascendant puts him right into Ravati, which is a specific portion of Pisces. Now, Pisces are also very educated, usually, right? Very
Hmm.
intelligent because it is ruled by Jupiter. You know, it's ruled by Jupiter, which is the planet of of high mindedness, of intelligence, right? Of education. And so many Pisces that I know and have come across paths with, even if they may not be quote unquote formally educated, they still have they still display a high level of intelligence, right? But his chart actually is set up for education, right? Because the way his ascendant lord aspects the house of education, which is the fourth house, sets it up so that he is bar none, right, going to be educated in the least sense. But of course, Bill was, I believe, a doctor, right? He is a doctor, if I'm correct, right? Am I
Yeah, I
correct on
believe
that,
so.
my
Yeah,
brother?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe he's a PhD. Yeah, right. I think I'm pretty sure he's a PhD, right? Being a PhD, it perfectly fits well with the Piscean ascendant, right? Um, Now, not all Pisces are PhDs. I don't want you to take away that from the conversation. I just want you to think about the fact that Jupiter ruled ascendants are very erudite. They're very intelligent. They're very, um,
He's an
they have an
EDD.
expanded consciousness. And
You hear
so
me?
Bill, right, he's an EDB. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fairly high level of education, right?
Hmm.
And it fits the Piscean ruled, Jupiter ruled ascendant, right? It just fits perfectly. Um, Pisces can also be very tempted by the flesh, meaning physical beauty tempts them, right, to a high degree. And of course, it makes sense because Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is the sign of the ascendant.
Yeah.
So all these
That's
things
interesting.
fit him very well, right? They're very lured to form, right? Music, right? In fact, um, you find that I found that a lot of comedians have this kind of ascendant. Richard Pryor, right? Although his chart is very different, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, he's Pisces ascendant, and so comedy, you know, that jovial kind of uplifting energy is what it produces, and you can see that with Bill. You can see it with Richard. You can see with pretty much any Pisces ascendant, they have a very kind of buoyant disposition. And so Jupiter, the element that Jupiter rules is ether, which is complete buoyancy, right? So hard to get them down. But the specific portion that Bill is under is Ravati, and Ravati, as I mentioned, is a portion of Pisces that it's ruled by Mercury, which gives him the gift of gab. It also gives him his comical nature even further so, right, than just being Pisces ascendant, and also gives him the ability to communicate extremely well, right?
Yeah.
So, many Ravatis you'll find are in the media in the sense of television. They even are a lot of times behind the scenes. Ravati is a lot of times behind the scenes, right,
Hmm.
with regards to film and TV, right?
Yeah.
So, by all means, right? Bill fits, Bill fits the bill, right? So,
Good one. Good one.
um, right, right. Pisces ascendant, they generally will display these characteristics. One of the things that you'll notice is that with Pisces, they kind of have a dual nature. There's two fish swimming in opposite directions, and so you'll find that um, they're courageous, right? But they have a nicety, they have a nice disposition to them. They're courageous, but they're kind of, I don't say gentle, but kind in a way, right? Um, they can be romantic, but also shy. Weird, kind of strange mixture. You would think romantic is outgoing and gregarious and dynamic, but they can be shy as well.
Hmm.
They can have an active leadership side, but also be extremely lazy. So it's kind of an odd mixture. It's those two fish that kind of contradict one another, strangely
Yeah.
enough. And Bill did have this disposition. I mean, he was definitely right someone that would consider themselves to be um, a leader, right, or in leadership positions, but he took the back seat on a lot of issues, right?
Yeah.
That's just kind of the Piscean mixture, you know. They kind of do two things at once. They're involved, but they're passive at the same time. If that makes sense, right? They're
Yeah.
sensitive, but they're indifferent. You know, it's dual. It's a dual sign, so they can do two things at once. What I found was that was very interesting about Bill's ascendant is the degree, right? I rectified it. It's at 26. I made sure this time, right?
Yeah.
And
This is
so
about a
one of the
time.
things that, huh?
So probably a slight difference in time, just a little, nudge.
Just a
What
little,
time you have it,
yeah.
man?
I've got him at uh, 27 after midnight.
27. Okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes back. Yep, there it is.
Boom.
Right. And what's so phenomenal about this degree, right? Are you ready for this? At 26 degrees, right?
Yeah.
Remember that degree? Remember that degree the last time, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah. Yeah.
degree thing is crazy, right? It says a man ought to be on the lookout against the ambushes of the weaker sex, as well as he can expect only trouble from that quarter of the world. Wow.
I need a bomb. I'm gonna put that in my program. A bomb in here. Boom.
That's the exact degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Say less, right?
Say less.
An
Show over.
ambush of the opposite sex, weaker sex, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you can't get any more specific than that degree, right? So it shows, right? And when you begin to understand, let's just say, for example, right, we diverge for a minute. Let's see if women would be a problem in a chart like this.
Hmm.
You would look for Venus, right? And I don't know if my brother here is able to show or put his marker where Venus is, right? But Venus is in the third house in Taurus,
Right here.
right? Right there, right? Exactly. If you look right next to Venus, what's sitting right next to it within 8, 9 degrees? It's K2,
Yep.
right? Now, K2, right, is a very powerful planet to be sitting with a malefic like this. I mean, with a benefic like this, with Venus, the planet of femininity, women, sexual engagement, right, social interactions, and so forth.
Yeah.
So you must understand that when we look at the nodes, right, the nodes are kind of secret, kind of back doors to look into karma. We learned this in the class too, right? So looking in this secret back door of karma, we see that K2 is one of the planets that deals with things that are headless, right? And so headless, there's different ways to be headless. And I'm not incriminating this man, but he actually said it himself what he did. So I'm not by any means stretching by or saying something against, one of our own that actually, right, would be considered to be innocent. This man himself admitted it. We're going to talk about why this whole thing has come about, right? So Venus, when it's with K2, remember Venus is women, K2 is headless or being knocked out,
Yeah.
right? So yes, it is in the chart that this individual did take action upon women, right? That was third house oriented, which is with the hands, right? It's involving K2, which is the ability to knock or remove consciousness from their purview, and Venus, which is obviously that constituent which was played through. So which is women. So yes, he did knock women out, right?
Whether
Um
it's under
if he raped,
if it consent or non-consent, that's a different story. But I mean, he did say that he did use
well,
those.
let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
Hmm.
So the planet, right, that deals with power, right, penetration, um, deals with um, aggression, right, control, is Mars.
Boom.
It is in the eighth house, and it's at 28 degrees, and it's in a sign ruled by guess what planet?
Venus.
Venus, the planet that rules women. Now, not only that, Mars aspects Venus from its eighth house aspect in the eighth house.
Yeah.
So that definitely shows an individual that aggressively used something that would knock out, remove consciousness, right, of the females through via the hands. And for sexual purposes, because the eighth house deals with what? Sex.
Sex.
Let's see if the 12th house has anything to do with it, because that's also bed pleasures. Saturn is in the ascendant, sitting beautifully, right? And
Hmm.
it's aspecting three houses away at aspects Venus. So the 12th house of bed pleasures, 11th house of social networks, interactions, and groups aspects the third house and the third lord, and also K2 at the same time. So all of these converge on the third house,
Yeah.
right? That's definitely not looking well for Bill's innocence,
Well, you could
right? And I
definitely
mean,
tell that
like I said, he admitted that he did.
you can definitely tell at the very least that that's he enjoyed that. He had a thing for that, for getting sexual pleasure out of women that are, you know,
Unconscious.
unconscious.
Yeah.
You know,
K2
definitely
is the
could.
unconscious, Venus is the
Yeah.
women. The action taken is the hands, through the hands, right? The
Hmm.
motive is the eighth house factor, right?
Hmm.
Which is sexual. Mars is in the eighth house, aspecting the third, right? It's all there, right? Mars aspects the second house of values, right? So again, right? And I know Mars is a very powerful planet for Pisces. It rules the second and ninth house. It's a benefic planet. It's a good planet for it, but it's in a compromised position. So again, right, this shows that Bill definitely participated in something that was unsavory and along the lines of the charges that were presented in front of him. Not to say the entirety of those charges are correct, but definitely one or two wouldn't be far fetched to be correct, would be
Yeah.
far fetched to stand and be valid, right? So, if one or two is valid, then they try to say the whole 55 is, or however, whatever the number is, some crazy number, right? But nonetheless, right, this is something that we are seeing that Bill is playing out. His ascendant lord is in the 10th house. So the reason why this is important to know that we're seeing this is because the ascendant lord is who you are, and it's in the 10th house of prominence, of leadership, right, of prestige, right, of privilege, right. This man, for all intents and purposes, never saw a hard day in his life. So, considering the power that comes with being in the position that he was in, and again, the ascendant lord in the 10th, in its own sign, is phenomenal placement for an individual. That alone really kind of puts the person on a certain status or level. Just that placement. The ascendant Lord being Jupiter in a Jupiter ruled sign in the 10th. That is going to give him a lot of power, prestige, right? Recognition, ability, all those things that come
Yeah.
with that territory. Now, you know what I mean? It's clearly seen, and it's in Uttara Ashada, which although it's at 29 degrees, that's still a very powerful placement, right?
Yeah.
So this man is, you know, I'm not going to put him on a par with a great teacher, but isn't it interesting that in his comedy, he was like a teacher, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
his comedy was really kind of like instructional, you know, like old father, old dad sitting there talking to you about his old experiences and making you laugh at the same time. Now, the other
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
Jupiter ruled ascendants can do, and because it's in that 10th position, is they like to be ethical or moral in their approach. So that's why he was kind of above using profanity, whereas Richard Pryor and the way his placements were set,
He was.
right,
He was
profanity was the rule of the day.
the day.
Two fishes, two fish, right? Two fish, right?
Yeah.
Going opposite directions, right? Right.
Yep.
But see, Bill's fish, right, tucked the other fish behind, you know what I mean, the clothes, the back door, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Pryor's fish was on display.
Yep.
So, going deeper, when we look at this, we have to understand that this is at a specific time in his life that is crucial because of his age, right?
Yeah.
And so the age factor, right? I mean, considering he's in his 80s, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
saying
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
pass away anytime soon. You haven't heard that from me, but the age factor is a major piece of the puzzle because karma has a way of speeding itself up as you age, believe it or not. It's a strange thing.
Yeah.
Saturn releases you from a lot of karmic heaviness at about 36, right? But 36 times 2 is 72. So at 72, a lot of the karma that you've experienced is really kind of let up a lot of. You've gone and paid your dues, so to speak. Saturn has kind of drug you through the mud enough to give you the understanding of what it is to be mature and responsible.
Yeah.
However, right, dasha periods are a big, when I say dashas, we're talking about life chapters of an individual's chart or of an individual's life. Life chapters are segments of time where karma is kind of dispensed based on the planet's positions. That's
Yeah.
what a dasha is, right? And so, being Pisces ascendant, they have some very specific kind of lessons that they get. Everyone has very specific lessons based on your ascendant, but Pisces has a specific lesson. They have a very kind of different relationship with Saturn. It's very different. It's very strange. And when I say that, it's because Saturn's relationship with Jupiter is neutral,
Yeah.
right? When we look at Saturn, when we look at Jupiter, these are two big boys on the block. These are the two big guys of the solar system. So they kind of, one is about expansion, growth, right, and
Yeah.
opportunities, and the other one's about
Restriction.
contraction,
Yeah.
right, restrictions and concentration of those energies, right.
Yeah.
And so they are kind of a net zero when they combine. One is a plus and minus, they equal zero. So it's a net effect. They really don't harm each other. They're considered neutral.
Yeah.
So Saturn for a Piscean type ascendant has somewhat of a neutralizing effect. However, right, because the way those signs and the rulership is placed, Saturn is not a friend to Pisces as an ascendant. When I say a friend, meaning that it is a friend in the sense of the long term spiritual scope of things,
Yeah.
yes, but it's not a friend in the sense of the materialistic, mundane world of things. Saturn rules the 11th house of gains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Social networking, right? Ventures and
Yeah.
large large scale investments, friends, right? Saturn rules these things for Pisces, but Saturn also rules the 12th house of loss, of expenditure, right? Of
that's
sacrifice,
yeah.
right?
It's interesting that
Of
the Saturn rule signs come right after each other because it sets it up for that. It's like unless it's your first and second house or something, it's like it's always there's always this kind of here and here, kind of thing
what
with
it does
Saturn
is
sometimes.
the beauty of it is that Jupiter gives you the knowledge
Yeah,
as Sagittarius to prepare you for the restrictions of Capricorn,
yeah,
and then the right the the Aquarian, right, reconstruction of your mind is brought to peace in the sign of Jupiter, where you get more reinforcement or more rest or recuperation from
yeah.
those two long bids that you had to do in those Saturn signs. So Jupiter kind of buffers you and prepares you for it, and then he kind of relieves you from it, right? So they it's perfectly designed,
Yeah.
right? Because Saturn is a long planet, so its stretch is going to be continuous, right?
Right.
Um, for Pisces though, this is rough. This is hard stuff to swallow because you got all these gains that you can have, but also at the same time you have to let them go. And so the Pisces, because it is the 12th sign, right? Because those two fish do swim in opposite directions, their lessons are tied to gain and then having to let that gain go, right? It's tied to the lesson of surrendering to the give and take process of life. Pisces is a sign of surrender. So its lessons come through the 12th house. Saturn is where you learn your greatest lessons. Whatever houses it rules and whatever signs it's placed in. I mean, excuse me, houses is placed in. Those are some of the greatest areas of your life that present challenges for your development and your spiritual growth. So Pisces development and spiritual growth comes around having a lot of things and then having to let those things go.
Right.
Comes with the territory, right? Hard lessons, right? Through having gains. Think about Jeff Bezos, for example, right? And I'm not saying in comparison of the two, but Jeff Bezos is also a Pisces ascendant, right? And most Pisces ascendants, I know, I'm just going to repeat this, for some reason they have access to wealth at some point in their life. Maybe not in the beginning, maybe not in the end, maybe in the middle, but they always have access to resources. I'm talking about in mass.
Yeah.
Not all, but many I've seen. Many. I'm talking about regular people, not just Jeff Bezos, Richard Pryor, or Bill Cosby. I'm talking about regular average folks. Either come from a good family, they come from money. Think about it. The second Lord and the ninth Lord are the same lords in Pisces ascendant. So they're going to have a connection. Wealth is going to have a connection with the family because the ninth house deals with fortune, right?
Right.
Deals with the supreme being. So Pisces are built for these types of things. They're built for the experience of having, of growing, of accumulation, and then having to say bon voyage, right?
Yeah.
It's the final sign. It's the sign where you so-called achieve, enlightenment or salvation. Well, salvation is not through material things, it's through the spirit, it's through the higher aspects of who you are.
Right.
Pisces has to learn this lesson. And it's a very hard one. So Bill Cosby had to learn the lesson, right? And we can see, why does Bill have to learn it? Meaning, what is the lesson involved with him? Well, you can see that karmically speaking, Venus is part of that Rahu Ketu axis,
Yeah.
right? And because it's in the third house and it's aspecting the ninth, and Rahu's in the ninth, the thing about this is that, and I'm not judging Bill Cosby, not by a long shot. I have my own sins to atone for, right?
Yeah.
But you knew better, right? When Rahu, I'm going to give you a secret to studying things, and brother, this will help you tremendously. When Rahu is in the ninth or third house axis, the person in their actions, when they do things, they know better. Karmically, they knew better. Strangely, I'm telling you, every time I've seen this axis, Rahu only in the ninth, Ketu in the third, not the other way,
Yeah.
right? When Rahu's in the ninth house, and you know I'm telling you the truth because you got something going on, right? As a child, you knew better,
Yeah.
right? Something about the ninth house and Rahu gives the person an understanding of right and wrong that supersedes our actual a regular person's karmic understanding, because they've come to learn to unravel that part of themselves on a higher octave. So they kind of are already on the page of knowing right from wrong, right? The
Right.
third Venus is in the third house axis with that planet, so that means that he knew better, right? We don't read karma from just one aspect; we read it from everywhere, right?
Right.
So Saturn, right? Saturn is the planet that is he's the dasha he's in, which
Yeah.
rules the houses of 11th and the 12th house. So he enters this dasha in 2000 what 2012 I believe, or is it 2012 2013
2006.
2006? Excuse me, that was a while ago. So he's
Mm-hmm.
coming to the end of that dasha, which
Yeah.
is why we're seeing these things. So Saturn causes you to atone for your sins. When we say pay your dues, there's spiritual dues and there's mundane dues, right? Spiritual dues are paid when you have already lived your life to a great degree. See, when Saturn, when the dashas hit at a certain time, it gives you your karma to experience on that level at that time. For example, right? We
Mm-hmm.
saw um we saw Nikola Tesla, right?
Right.
All of his periods that were prominently leading him to the karma he had were in line for his birth. So he pretty much had everything set to experience those periods to produce that greatness. See, greatness can be contained in a chart, but the dashas don't run,
Right.
right? So people that are out there that want to be famous sports athletes, sometimes the Mars dasha might not run to the very end of life. Your youth is gone, so that's not going to play out. Or it runs at the very beginning of life.
Right.
Sometimes when it runs the beginning of life, that still can ride out and produce something from that beginning. But many times you don't get the dasha that gives you the karma, right? You'll see maybe Mars exalted in the 10th house, but they never run the dasha until they're old or they're extremely young. Or they might have they have to be super old because you get all of them within 120 years. You get all the dashas, but you have to live that long to get them all. So, if the longevity is not in the chart, then you're not going to get it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, Saturn is in his old age, right? Think about this, folks. Saturn, the planet of karmic recompense and payback, is in his old age. So at this age, right? Saturn is an old man. It represents older people, right? Elderly. So at this age, Saturn is running, he's running the dasha, so he's getting the karmic recompense. He's getting the payback. He's learning the lesson of having to let go of all of his title. That title means nothing anymore. Those Jello pudding pops, those Fat Albert, none of that. All of that stuff has been nullified.
Yeah. Jello
He
pudding
is not the
pops.
Bill Cosby that I knew when he was right, right.
No.
That I
Yeah.
knew when I was a kid, when I watched Fat Albert, right. When Fat Albert came on, and Bill Cosby was the cleanest man in comedy, right,
Right.
and still is. That title hasn't been taken away, but isn't it dubious that the sign of a fish, one fish is clean and pure and doesn't curse, while the other fish is knocking women out and taking things? That's dubious. That's straight up Pisces at its best, right? Like I said, gentle, or what is this? What do we say? Romantic yet shy, right? I want to advance you, but I'm gonna knock you out, right? The dubiousness of this, right? Two fish, right? Tied. So this image, I want to say illusion, because part of it is true, He gave to HBCUs, which is what philanthropic individuals do, which is what Pisces engendered, right? He gave to the UNCF, the United Negro College Fund. I mean, I remember as a kid watching commercials with Bill Cosby on it, talking about the United Negro College Fund.
Right.
Right? It made me want to go to college. Right? Go figure. Right? So, I mean, this is the power and influence that this man had. I mean, HBCUs. Right? We're talking about the Cosby Show, Different World. This shaped the minds of young black individuals to further their education and advance their careers as far as their profession is concerned. So this man definitely touched many people's lives, paid for people's colleges outright. I mean, they're not paid for their tuition outright. I mean,
Right.
so that one fish is still there, but there's another fish going the opposite direction. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. It just hits me hard because it's like it's saying it literally. The karma saying it. Two fish going in opposite. The other one is knocking women out in broad daylight and taking things that don't belong to him. I mean, the other fish is still tied, is what I'm showing you. That the karma, you don't escape it. Right? That's what
Right.
the tie is. You can't escape it.
Right. And the you know, like
So
it's
this,
interesting that you mentioned the tie, because in the temple of Dendera, it has two fish tied to each other
mhm,
on a you
yeah,
know.
they're tied.
Yeah.
Mhm. They're linked.
Yeah.
So what you do in the dark always comes to light, and and Saturn rules the 12th house of the dark. The 12th house is the house of obscurity, of hidden activities, what you do in your bedroom, what you do behind closed doors, your closet, as they say. Well, the skeletons fell out the closet. Saturn is the skeletal structure. The bones
Right.
fell out literally.
Right.
I mean, you can't get no
Right.
more karmically rich. This is almost like poetry,
Right.
poetic
Now,
justice, as they say. Right?
I don't know if you was
I'm
gonna
not
go
really
there.
going to deal. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he was gonna go there, but as far as the time period where they say a lot of this took place, if we see the looking at the dashas, right? Would you say that
Right.
these were occurring during that Mars dasha?
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. So if we want to look at when these things were occurring, right, we can go all the way back, right? We can go all the way back to, yeah, Mars is when it began. Mars is when it began. And the 1960s is when they first women has said that they accused him of doing this. We've done, I mean, we talked about this, like we said earlier, we really did this research long time ago, right? So
Right.
it's kind of like interesting that, like you said, it's coming up now that we've already done the research on this fella. Right? We did what we did in what's this, the ascendant class? I think was this the
Yeah,
ascendant?
we
Yeah,
were yeah we
was
was
it the
going over the
ascendant class?
ascendant. Yeah, we was going over the
Yeah, yep,
ascendants.
was in
Yep.
the ascendant class. Yeah, and it was Bill came up. It was right at the time when he just went to jail. I think right at that time, which was right around September. I want to say September of 2018 is when he went.
Believe so.
So if we look at this, absolutely, Mars plays it out perfectly. Rahu plays it out perfectly. Check it out, folks. This is what we call confluence. So Mars runs a dasha, right?
Right.
It's in the eighth house. It has connection with Venus. It has connection with Rahu because Mars rules Rahu. So when the Mars dasha runs, Rahu plays this role, and Rahu is in the 12th from Mars, and it's that ninth house axis has Venus in it. So you see how Venus is playing out. He's knocking women out at this time, right? Rahu is in the 12th from Mars. Then when it gets to Rahu Dasha, it just becomes more insatiable. It becomes more irresistible because now he's in a prominent position. In 1972, Bill Cosby was the man, right?
Right.
I mean, he was one of the few individuals that was on TV, folks, right at this time. I mean, yes, we were making our way in. The civil rights movement was coming to a close, right? We were doing our own Black Pride, Black Power thing, but at the same time, Bill Cosby was one of the few individuals that made it to the TV screen far before anybody else.
Right.
right? So, considering and in a major syndicated TV show, I believe it was I Spy. I might be wrong, right? I'm
I
not
think
that
so.
old, right?
Yeah, I wasn't
Right,
around when
pretty
it
sure it
came
was
out,
I
but I
Spy,
believe that's yeah, it's I Spy.
right?
Yep.
You wasn't even a twinkle yet, right? I was barely right thought, right? So it's I
Man, I
Spy,
was
right?
I, I
If
was
my
I
memory
was in
serves
my
me correct.
I was in my grandfather's loins. And this is my father wasn't even born
Right.
yet.
I was there, but I was like, trying to like, right? So, I was like germinating, trying to really germinate, right? So nonetheless, but this is a major show, right? I Spy
Right.
is major, hits the scene, right? Does well. America, I mean, take for granted, right? The Ascendant Lord is in the 10th house. He is a household name. I don't know if anybody doesn't know what Jello is, right? And yes, the youth may not know, but those that are 24, 25 and up know Bill Cosby is tied to Jello, right? So,
Yeah.
this is a household thing. This is beyond, this is in the household of every red-blooded American, quote unquote, white, black, Hispanic, Latina, Asian, whatever. If you grew up in America, you know who Bill Cosby is when he's as associated with being with Jello, right? Right, and other things, right? Like I said, HBCUs, UCNF, right? UNCF, um, you know, just everything that is so-called quote unquote positive. I'm not ridiculing this man. We all have our demons. We all have our devils to deal with, right?
Right.
But when you're in a position of notoriety, of limelight, you put yourself in a position to be observed, right? The 20th
Yeah.
hexagram is viewing. As you climb higher, those that you view others, you are as you view others, you are viewed as well.
Right.
So, right, when we understand this, when Saturn's dasha kicks in, right, and let's just sidebar for a second. The reason why we're here is because Bill made a deal, right? He made the deal in the Jupiter Rahu dasha. Remember, folks, Rahu is your karma. Saturn is like the judge that pays the karma, that says, "Hey, like you owe seven years, right?" That's Saturn. But Rahu is the portal that opens for that karma to be. It's Pandora's box.
Right.
It's obsessions, the addictions, right? So that Saturn and Rahu have a direct connected relationship. Rahu acts like Saturn. He waits to get you. See, K2 and Mars, they're similar. So their karma is instant, right? It happens all of a sudden at once. Rahu's is dragged out, like dragging your name through the mud, right? Being raked over the coals, right, of public scrutiny. Well, Jupiter Rahu is when he made the deal. He made a deal. The deal was this, right? Look, I'll tell you what I did if you just make sure that this doesn't hit the light of day and I don't go to court for it. And they made the deal. They agreed to the deal. Now I want you to think about this. Another sidebar, right? Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC a long while ago. I don't know if you remember this, right? That's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of bread to be able to buy NBC, or at least buy
Yeah.
stock in it to where you have controlling powers.
Right.
That's a lot of money. So we talking about money that Bick in those days Bill had that people have now, right? Bill's son was, I believe in my heart, can't prove it. It is a belief. I believe he was murdered. So I'm talking about, I want you to consider this loss, right? Lost through trying to gain. Remember, the
Right.
11th house is gain. So when you're trying to gain, you actually lose, right? His son is murdered. And remember, the powers that be, they don't forget a slight. When the powers that be get you, they get you when you least expect it, when you don't think of anything's coming. Yes, there are powers that be, folks, right? No one wants a black man to own or control a major television network. I'm not talking about BET, folks.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about, right? We're not even talking about Fox, which has become a major network. When I was a child, it was not a, it was a small time network. It was small time. We're talking about
Right.
NBC, the Peacock feathers, right?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is,
I don't know who, if you know who, what I know.
I mean, you know, because the catalog alone, right? Forget about if you're watching it on
Mhm,
TV.
mhm.
The catalog, what they own
Right,
from
alone.
all those years, it's major. NBC owns a lot of stuff.
His catalog from this, from the Cosbys and the different world syndication is still in play,
Absolutely.
still in
Well,
play.
they brought it back. They
So
brought it back. I
you
think
know,
they took it off for a minute, but I think they brought it back. Like different world and stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, you can go on. Well, you can go on.
You can just
You
stream
can
it.
go on. I think it's net. Yeah, stream it. Right, right. But I mean, streaming is still, they're getting paid for it,
That's
and
that
a lot of
catalog.
people
That's
still
the
like the show. So
yeah.
exactly, exactly. So you know what I mean? Like we're talking money at the point of where it crosses over to power. We're not talking about dollars, right? That's a different sense of money. We're talking about money when it affects things that are controlling major industry. That's the
Right.
kind of power Bill wielded,
Yeah.
right? So don't sleep on Bill, right? Bill is a powerhouse, right? Powerhouse. A lot of people behind Bill, right? But at the same time, right? Same time, right? The powers that be don't forget. And so
Mm-hmm.
when he admitted, right, to purchasing Quaaludes for the purposes of giving them to women, right, he admitted this. And they said, well, okay, deal closed. We won't try you. Now, here, check this out. Now, that's what's in the Jupiter Rahu Dasha. Fast forward, right? Saturn Mars Dasha comes. No, Saturn Moon Dasha comes. Right? What is the relationship between Saturn and the Moon? What is the number of houses from each placement? Right?
Six.
It's 6-8,
6-8.
right? We call it 6-8, right? So from the Saturn Moon Dasha, and Moon represents what type of people?
Women.
Women. What house is it placed in?
It's in the sixth house.
Sixth house of debt,
Mm-hmm.
criminal activity, right?
Right.
Criminal activity, debt, court cases, litigation. Saturn in the first house, being himself, being represented, ruling the 11th house of social networks, old friends, right? That become private enemies.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Right? Then from that dasha, Saturn Moon goes into a Saturn Mars. Well, good God, where is Mars placed from Saturn?
8.
Eighth house, 6-8 again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the women, right, have done what they've done, and now that 6-8 position with Mars and Saturn, which is an extremely rough period for anybody. Yep,
Yeah, especially between
there it
Mars and
is.
Saturn. Oh yeah.
Right there. That's when he's incarcerated, folks. Right there. He enters that period September of 2000 and September 2018. No, 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 no. He enters
August.
that period in August, right?
August 2018.
And he's sentenced. I believe he's sentenced in September, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see.
September. Yep, September 25th, 2018. He's sentenced. Right. So look at the karma. Look how close that is. Right.
Yeah, the next month. I mean, next month
The
after
next
that.
month,
Yeah.
right? You can't get any better than this, folks. And you're not going to find people breaking this stuff down like this, right? You really
Nah.
aren't. I mean, this is a one of a kind podcast. I've heard it through and through from all our listeners, right? They're not going. This content is really not laid out like this in other channels, right? So definitely pass the word. But you can see Saturn Mars, October 3rd, 2018, and then he hits a Saturn Rahu period in September 11th, 2019. He's
Right.
still in the Saturn Rahu period, right?
Yeah.
But right, remember I told you karma works in a certain wavelength. So when Jupiter Rahu, he made the deal. Saturn Rahu is when the deal is finally sealed, even though Saturn drug him through that particular karmic backlash. Because Saturn is in the first house, ruling the 12th, he has to go to prison. Isn't that crazy? He has to go to prison with that karma. But then the deal, and here's remember powers that be. Oh well, we decided to just take a look at it. And you know
Yeah,
what,
like all of
Bill?
it.
You were right. We had we had a deal on the table. Let him out.
They knew it. I mean, like this is
Really?
the thing. People have to understand that we got eyes. They got eyes. We got brains. They got brains. They know exactly. If you sitting here and you seeing that this case is crazy, you think that the whole everybody just all of a sudden just lost their mind and not known that the trial wasn't conducted. They know. He knows.
They knew this. They said it. They said we don't
Yeah.
care. We're just going to charge you anyway.
Right.
What? You gave me immunity. You said if I told you this. So Bill's sitting there like, mind screw, right? So when Saturn Rahu is there, think about it like Saturn Rahu, you're sitting there in prison, right? And I mean, think about the taste on your mouth. That's real bad, nasty karmic taste when you know you had a deal on the table.
Right.
I don't know. He had every word to call white people except white people.
Mm.
Right? He had every word to call the government, every name but the government. Right? Trust me. I'm not saying that white people are responsible for this, not by any long shot. Man does what he does. He deals with his karma, whether it be fortunate or not. But nonetheless, right? Trust me, right? The powers that be made a statement, and it's loud. I could see it. Everyone with ears can hear it, right?
Right.
They made a statement. We made you a deal, but we'll honor the deal when we would like to honor the deal. So now you're so old, your name's been ripped to pieces, right? Anything that you stood for is null and void. Now he has been humbled, and Ravati, the actual nakshatra that he is placed in, learns that the ego becomes destroyed, right? Through not having the understanding to hear and understand other people's purview. One of the things that
Right.
Ravati has an issue with, right, is having extremely high idealistic purviews. Pisces has extremely high ideals. So the way he treated the hip hop artists, it wasn't it amazing? He was talking to Boosie in there, huh? Mhm. Talking to Boosie, right?
Right.
Boosie, of all people. Thank you, Boosie. He was humbled. Saturn humbled him. Saturn took him to show him that look, all of your titles, all of your accolades, all of your whatever it is that you thought you had, your money, your position, your power, your prestige, none of it means anything when it comes to truth. When it comes to treating those as they should be treated, as if you were in their position.
Right.
Right? Pisces should understand the Pisces should be the one that feels everyone's plight, and he did to a great degree. But the
Right.
indifference, the other fish that swam the other way, or the fish that didn't pay attention to the inner voice that says, "Hey, Bill, this is maybe we should do this or we shouldn't do this." Well,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, he heard that voice because he said something to a person that he would have ridiculed otherwise. Right? See,
Right.
our perception of what he learned and what that heart will be weighed as, I can guarantee you, Bill is humbled to a great degree.
Yeah, and
His ego
this
has been checked to a great degree.
absolutely. I mean, we talked about this a little bit in regards to a show that we was planning or whatnot, but it's an important lesson. You know what I mean, in regards to not for Bill, but just in general. Like, you know, it's easy to be like, oh, that person is a monster. You understand what I'm saying, right? And throw those type of labels on
Mhm.
people. But I mean, what you know what I mean? Like, unless you have the access, and yeah, you could say yeah they knew better, but you still have a animal being,
A conditioning. You have a
a
conditioning.
conditioning
Right.
that
Right.
that's in
Right.
there, and until you learn how to train your dragon, right, which is not something that
Mm-hmm.
anybody walks into the world and knows how to do, right? And even
Right.
under spiritual training, it still is something that you're working on. You understand what I'm saying? Your dragon might not be
Work
your
in
dragon might
progress.
be
Yes.
socially accepted. You might have been, fortunate to have a
Right.
dragon that's socially accepted, right? But some people got dragons that are not socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's just always important to
And you
keep
know
that in
what?
mind when you're
That's
looking at
real.
people what they're going through.
That's right. That's right. Because that Rahu in Scorpio, right, is a serious placement, right? That is remember Rahu. See, people say, "Well, I thought isn't it debilitated there?" There really is no debilitation or exaltation with Rahu or K2. That's a misnomer. There are signs that stabilize and destabilize, yes, right?
Right,
But remember, the nodes are no planet, so they have no real sustenance. They're points and they're sensitive points in the sky. They only can be seen through an eclipse, so they're not real, right? So there's no way to exalt something that's not real. But what we can know is just like any chemical, certain things stabilize certain chemicals and certain things don't. Well, certain times you need chemicals that are unstable in order to make that instability come to life so that you see why you are unstable or why it's unstable or what you can use out of that instability, right? And when Rahu is in, see Rahu, that's when Rahu's in Scorpio. It's unstable. It's
right,
occult wise very powerful. In the occult world, Rahu in Scorpio is extremely powerful. Second most powerful. Rahu in Aquarius is the most powerful occult wise. Most powerful. It's its own nakshatra, right? It has its own nakshatra there. Shots to be shot. Rahu in
yeah,
Aquarius to me is what I would consider exalted, me personally. But that's my own personal studies to what Rahu does in Aquarius. It does phenomenally powerful things, right?
right,
I've never seen really bad things come out of it, right? What they say is Rahu is exalted in Taurus because Taurus is a bull, it's stabilized, right? And that's just like basically saying that venom or like a large animal can take a lot of toxins because of its
yeah.
mass, right?
Kind of
It won't
tames Rahu a
overload.
little bit.
Where serpent, exactly. So with the serpent, it's already venomous, so it increases the propensity of the venom. When Rahu's
Right.
in Scorpio, Rahu's in Taurus, it stabilizes it, right? Milk is one of the things that they would use back in the day to treat venom, right? And a cow, which is a Taurus, which is what a cow produces milk, which is what Taurus is, can right stabilize or harness that or use or control that poison, mitigate it. So right, that's why the folklore is that they're exalted and debilitated in those signs. But again, I've seen it so many times when that's just not true. I've seen Rahu and Taurus where the person is just downright not right. I've seen Rahu and Scorpio where they're very powerful, high end, high level spiritual beings. So that's not always the case, right? But for Bill, right, because of that Venus in that axis, that Rahu K2 axis, that Venus is where of a lot of the issues where Rahu comes in. Rahu and K2 are at an axis point, so they're not separate. They're separate by illusion, right? But they're really connected, right? It's like one snake that goes across your chart. And so whatever
Right.
that snake is, that energy vibrates back and forth, back and forth. So wherever K2 is, right, Rahu will deal with, and whatever Rahu is, K2 will deal with. So they create this loop, and that Venus is in that loop. Well, Venus rules the eighth house, so that eighth house is in that karmic loop with Venus. So again, you begin to see, oh, makes sense, right? Why women would be where the karma would be paid back, right? No one else could pay it back but the women. You see what I mean? That is how
Right.
you know it's the karma that's being paid back because it wasn't a man, it wasn't a dog, it was no one else, but and it was through sexual intercourse that this came about. That's how you know specifically what this is talking about because all those
Right.
factors line up. So you can see it. But what gets Bill out of this? Let's talk about why he's going through at this point the reversal, right? So Remember, I said Jupiter was when the deal was made. Jupiter Rahu. Rahu is the trigger point. He's the one. He's that says, "Okay, I'm gonna let you out, but I'm going to create an illusion, which is when the Jupiter Rahu hit the illusion that you weren't gonna go through anything, right? Saturn went through. He paid your karmic dues, and then when Saturn Rahu comes back around, when Rahu comes back around, he says, since you paid your dues, I'm gonna let you go, right? He's in a Saturn Rahu dasha. That dasha, right, is in what type of relationship? It's in a 5 what? 9.
9.
So he went from 6-8 to 5-9. Now, Rahu's ruler is still in the 8th house representative position, meaning you always look for Rahu's ruler to find out what the undergirding kind of relationship is during that period. And it is in the 8th house. But, right, the ruler of it is in the 3rd. And where is Rahu as we speak?
Rahu is in the third.
In what house?
Third house.
Releasing him from that karma. See, Rahu and Ketu are combined in
Right.
the chart. That's called a Yorobos, right? A reversal of karma. It reverses karma, literally. It's like the snake's tail is in its mouth,
Right.
right? So whatever was done over here is undone here. That's why he's literally being released. And Jupiter, which is his ascendant lord, is going back out of the 12th house, which is incarceration, into the 11th house of social networks, connections, and friends. Saturn is also going retrograde simultaneously. Can you show that? Can you show the transits on there?
Yes.
On that one?
Hold on.
Perfect. Perfect. So you see Jupiter's in the 12th right now, right?
Right.
Right. It's moving back. It's taking him out of jail. He's out of jail. Right? Moving him out of the prison system. Right. And Saturn, which is the 11th lord, and the karmic and the lord of the dasha, is also in retrograde in its own sign. Right. So that also helps. But not only that, if you look to the 5th house, Mars is there. And Mars is one of the best planets for Pisces ascendant because it rules the 2nd house and the 9th. And that's in trine to Rahu, which is Rahu's ruler, isn't it?
Right.
So all of those trines set up a portal or a window where whereby the karmic recompense that he set up in Jupiter Rahu is now being released during that Saturn Rahu dasha. That's exactly why he's being released. Right? He's paid his dues, learned his lesson. Doesn't happen often, folks. So you know this is a special case because normally he'd be in there probably till it's lights out.
Yeah, because I mean, like the whole
Right? Till he's lights
the
out.
whole the Piscean dynamic, right? I mean, it's like on this side is this and on this side is that. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, however you want to look at it, he wasn't all bad or all good, right? You understand what
No,
I'm saying?
no more. Really, I mean, if you weighed it in the balance, right? Did he affect more lives negatively or positively? I say positively than negatively, but I'm not the supreme being, right?
Right,
But I'm saying in the sense of the scale of the positivity far outweighs the negativity to me, right? And that's just my own personal opinion, right?
right,
Because I mean, you have to go down a list of things that Bill does, and this is a thing that Bill does with a list of people. That's different, right? A list of things, meaning that he, from top to bottom, Bill has been about his people, right? Bill has always been about his people,
Right.
right? Think about it. See, y'all, some of you are not old enough to know or experience it. When Fat Albert came on, that was like your only black cartoon, y'all.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't
And it
have
was
any other black cartoons
it
at
was
all.
I wasn't alive when it first came out, but I was seeing the reruns, and it still had
But you
that
saw
same
them in
status.
syndication, right? You saw them in
It,
syndication.
but it was
Same
still
has same effect, right? Well, I was
yeah.
I was old enough to where they first came out. I was there, right? So when it was like a black cartoon, right? It
Hmm.
was like what? And then to sit there and to have, of course, the cartoons had lessons in it, right? About
Right.
certain moral issues, things like that. So when I go back to my childhood, I have a positive image of Bill, right? I have things that Bill did that affected my life, the course of my life, and is affecting my children's life to this day because of my college desire to go to HBCU, right? So, I mean, it's systemic. The positivity that he put out. I mean, the first real black role model as a doctor, right? Someone that's a comp. I mean, we don't take the subconscious mind is a powerful tool in that when you affect it from a young age, it can change the world. Who do we know? How do we know that Kamala Harris wasn't a recipient of one of those? You know what I mean? We don't. You know what I mean? All of those things play out in a way that is grander than the shortcomings of an individual. So yes,
Right.
I know they said it was like 50 some odd women, right? I'm not going to say I agree with that. I don't know if that's true. I could, like I said, if one or two of them is true, then it's true in the sense that that is something he did as a transgression. The
Right.
magnitude of it, I'm not certain because I don't have the facts and I don't know. I'm not there to make that judgment. But when the heart is weighed on the scale, I'm pretty sure at this point, Bill is a different man. Right? Bill is
Right.
not the high, the arrogant, uncompromising, or condescending Bill. Because Jupiter can be condescending. It could be pompous, right? It could be, you know, what do you call it? Boastful, right?
Right.
So, that goes with the territory. Descendant Lord's in Sag, a fire sign. But he's been brought down quite a couple of notches where when you reach out to hip hop artists, and I'm saying he didn't reach out to Ice Cube or Jay-Z, he reached out to Boosie, right? And
that that
Boosie,
that speaks
right,
volumes, right?
it's about as real as you know what I mean? That speaks volumes. So I'm saying that to say, Bill, I understand, right? We all make mistakes, right? We all have our lessons to learn and our wagons to pull. I just hope that this is an opportunity that we all can use to garner and understand how powerful life is when we learn our lessons and really move into a more humble and more holistic space from the things of the past. So I definitely still look up to Bill Cosby from what he's done. I don't judge him in any kind of way. I just understand that karma does play out. These things can be seen behind the scenes once you know how to see them, and we understand that who knows what we really don't know what happened to Bill as a child, what he encountered as a young man, or what kind of triggered the things as he came along to create such something that would create his downfall like this. So, again, I'm honored to even have the opportunity to use astrology to break this person's chart down because I consider him as an individual that definitely contributed to the world.
So let me ask you a question, right? If let's say in 1990, right, Bill Cosby, say you were as educated and learned in astrology as you are today, right? Say it's 1990,
Hmm.
and Bill
Yeah.
comes to you, gets a reading, and wants some advice, right? Consultation,
Hmm.
everything that's transpired before 1990 has happened, and you're looking at him. What would you advise
What
him
do
to
I
do
say?
based on what do based on astrology?
I'd say Bill, look, because see, at the time in 1990, he's in a what? What is it, Jupiter? Or no,
Rahu.
uh, he's a Rahu Dasha, right? He's
Yes.
Rahu Dasha, and so knowing that Saturn rules the 12th and the 11th and the 12th, it's in the first, right? And it aspects the eighth Lord, I would have told him, Bill, whatever things that you're doing in the dark will come to light, and that you might
Jupiter.
want to
He hit
take
Jupiter.
advantage of the timing of it.
Jupiter. He was Jupiter. He
It
hit
was
Jupiter.
Jupiter, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would have been during a Jupiter taught Joshua, right and exact, to talk to an astrologer, right? And I
Right.
told him, like, look, man, I know the things that you got going on right now seem fairly well, right? But if you're wise, the things that you've done with regards to the Rahu period, and I always know Rahu always is something you've done in it. If you have Rahu placed in a certain way, I know it's something that you've done, right? That either can come to light or can come back to bite you, right? And I would tell him during Saturn Dasha, right? You might, especially during Saturn Moon, Saturn Mars, you might be extremely careful around the type of people you associate with, especially women. That's what I would have told them. And usually, because I'm not saying, hey, Bill, you out there knocking them out, but in his subconscious, he would have heard women and careful. That's usually what it tie in. Women, careful, and women, be careful with women.
Right.
So there might have been a warning. He might have heard, right? Hey, let me slow down on the knockouts, right? Let me not order Quaaludes this month, right? Because maybe that ain't a good man. This man knows something's going on with women, and that
Right.
usually will trigger. They may not say anything that day, but they might go home and get rid of the Quaaludes, or they might go home and call all the dates they got set up. Say, hey, you know what? I can't take you to the Chinese land. I'm gonna have to cancel that. Get with you another time, right? So you know what I mean. That might have been the outcome. I would have told Bill, right, Saturn is going to be a rough period because it's in your ascendant and it rules very unsavory houses. The 11th house is what's called a Trisha Daya house. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
teach my students in my level 2 classes, right? 11th house is the most powerful Trisha Daya house. Trisha Daya is evil. Literally, it means evil, evil house, right? 3, 6, and 11 are Trisha Dayas. 11th is the most powerful Trisha Daya house. The 12th house is a neutral house. So the neutral house, meaning it has no power of its own to impact anything else except what it is co-ruled by, and is co-ruled by a Trisha Daya Lord. So that means Saturn has the power to do major damage to a Pisces ascendant. So I would have known at that time in his age, in his life, that's something very serious you need to take, Bill, because this is a time that put you in incarceration or worse in the hospital. I would have told him
Right.
that, if and or both. Right. So that would have been my message to Bill. Right. We'll probably see Bill for a while. He'll probably be here until Mercury Dasha, which is coming up in the next about what?
4
Mercury
years.
Dasha hits when?
4 years.
You might
About 4 years now.
that's a yeah, 4 years. That is a Maraca Lord. That is a seventh Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and seventh Lord usually indicates time of exit for older people.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's right at the end of Saturn Dasha. Saturn Jupiter might be the exit, but I would probably bet Mercury. Yeah, so he's probably got a few years left to enjoy some of that newfound freedom that he has, right? But yeah, he would have gotten those words of wisdom from me, definitely.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, as usual, thank you all for tuning in or whatnot. This was, more of an impromptu, but we already studied the chart. We already looked at it and stuff like that. So it's always good, especially if you're, a
Yeah,
student of astrology, looking at it always, study charts, look at charts, all that stuff like that. It only
I tell my
enhances your
students,
ability.
man, thank you for saying that, brother. Thank you for saying that. I tell my students, man, get your hands on charts, right? Just get charts, get charts, get charts, get charts, get charts. I don't care if you don't know them or not, just get charts because eventually you're going to find that those charts are going to at some point teach you how to read. You can't do it without doing it this way. So, famous people are always easy because we know their lives. They're on display, right? They're public figures, but people that are private that we don't know, the fun is in that because when you say gems, when you bring out things that are right, not as apparent as what most people should know, and you do know, the magic begins, and that's what sparks, right, that kind of hunger for you to get deeper and more profound in your studies. So, by like my
Right.
man said, thank you for saying it. Study your charts, get your charts right, go chart crazy.
Indeed, indeed. Well, with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Again, this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group, Caliprucia Astrology, and the good people out there on Patreon. Big up to y'all. Shout out to everybody in the chat, everybody watching on the live. Big up to y'all. Thank you all for tuning in and stuff like that. We really, are enjoying this live format and stuff like that or whatnot. So this is a good addition. So thank you all for tuning in as well or whatnot. Again, just a reminder, make sure you check out the other podcasts we got on Push It Forward Network, Single Dad Podcast, Plant Based with Love Podcast. You can find them on all platforms that you listen to your podcast. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, SoundCloud. You can find it on pushitforward.com. You can listen to it there. And they're on YouTube as well, on this channel as well. So make sure you definitely check out those. Good information. Nice, change your pace and all that stuff like that as well. So thank you all for definitely tuning in. Rod, you got anything you want to say before we out?
Peace. I got nothing, man. Just actually, before I do go, just want to make sure again, check with me for the classes. You don't want to miss this as an opportunity. Uh, these classes come around ever so often. So it's not like, I'm a university, I could just spin them out, right? Just right, teach them 24/7. There's a time window when that comes. So jump in while you can, right? I've got probably about 12 or 13 students that are looking to join the neophyte level class. And we always have fun, right? We have fun. We get real. We have adult conversations. We learn and we apply, right? And so as the class goes, right, it gets better and better. Level 2, it gets harder, right? But you get deeper, and then level 3, the adept level class, right? You're at a level where you really are able to, for the most part, understand majority of the chart. And then at level 3, we're training how to read horoscopes, how to read charts, how to predict, and how to do those kinds of things. So don't miss out on the opportunity. Definitely jump on board. If you're interested, hit me up, astrology@gmail.com, or you can hit me up via at Shekhamra on Facebook or on IG. So, get with me, let me know. And other than that, have a good evening.
Indeed. So that being said, we'll be out. We'll be back next week. Great episode. Patreons, be on the lookout. We got an episode coming up this week. We'll probably do it Thursday, Friday. You just look and I'll let you know when we come in there and we'll knock out that Patreon exclusive episode or whatnot. And that being said, we're out. Peace.
Peace.